Welcome to Meticulous Talks episode 13. I am Chris, of course.
And I'm solving problems.
And the world has changed in 2 weeks. Yep, after the sort of rush of regionals results we had from last week, there was I assume you looked at them all, solving.
Yeah, I can't really remember them as it was pretty brief, but
yeah,
I did go over them.
Well, there were basically 2 decks that I saw a lot of. The Luna version of Hot Wings, which, I mean, I have my own gripes about that. We'll get to those later. And this combo deck, which is called One Purpose. Yeah. And of course, the news, for anybody who's been paying attention to Reddit, is that particular bug was squashed rather emphatically.
Quickly.
Yes. With Vapor Trail getting the ban hammer.
Yes. Which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few...
Kind of sucks it had, only a month of being legal.
Yeah.
Poor card. Is that the shortest legality we've ever had?
Did Bulk maybe get banned faster? That's the only possibility, I think.
Oh, I don't know. I thought he lasted a bit more than a month because there wasn't a fast turnover of competitive tourneys straight after EO, was there?
Yeah, maybe not.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. He's the only one who would be close because he was basically just, this card is fundamentally broken and should not be in the game.
It should just read when it goes to discard or whatever from play, get a non-bulk biceps card from discard to hand, so you can't even recur other copies of him.
Oh, that would do it. Yeah.
There you go. Oh man, I guess you could get cleaning up, but that'd make the cycle 5 action tokens. It's a lot of action tokens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And anyway, they've made a lot of if you did it like that as well, they've made a lot of discard hate recently, the one that banishes a discard. You could destiny drain him away, etc. It's if they just made it so that he couldn't recur himself, he would have been fine. A very, very good card, but not oh my gosh, why would you print this? Ew.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know that a few people from the ban thread on Reddit mentioned things like, this Vapor Trail is a card that yellow might want.
It's really not.
Yeah, I know. We both.
It's a 2-for-1 on its own merits. It's okay, but nah. No. It's a 2-for-1. That just makes you sad. If it was a 2-for-2, yeah, I'd say it's not bad. Mm-hmm. But it's 2-for-1. It's oh man, Onyx so aggressive by playing this 2-for-1. Oh dear.
Yeah. So yeah, it seems to me I'd say Enderplay made the right call on that one, and clearly they had to move quickly before convention season got started because
yes,
we didn't want to have another Gen Con.
Luckily, there was the grand total of no tournaments at GalaCon, so I didn't have to. Well, there was some sealed tournaments, and that was kind of it. But I didn't feel like getting involved myself.
Really?
Nah, I wasn't in the mood. I was more in a let's go explore the con mood, and then I bought 2 Applejack Captain of the Seven Seas constructed because I love them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have bought 3, but they only had 2. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
so not a lot happened. Yeah, unfortunately, on my end.
Oh, that's fine. Well, was there at least a good, reasonable turnout?
Just of people, yeah, and a lot of people trying to get into the game.
That's good.
Unfortunately, they all seem German, so I can't drag them into my playgroup.
Oh well, it's fine. And on the subject of your Applejacks, I think the 2 is a good number. I guess
I definitely want 3 because in mono orange I have no proper way of recurring her in degenerate ways.
Yeah,
so I want to play fair.
I guess.
So I just want to run 3 so that I draw her.
That's
and
fair.
then I can play it to slow down really aggressive opponents, etc.
Hmm.
Yay! Casual competitive metagame. It's a lot of fun.
So yeah, aside from paper trail and one purpose, obviously, um, there was well, actually, I forgot there was another thing about the regional results that actually really excited me, but we'll get to that. The other thing that I noticed was the sort of, and this hot wing, the so-called hot wings deck has been in the meta for a while, ever since commentaries Magic had their stream about it, and it seems like it's kind of flavor of the month right now, which I guess is unsurprising. Um, there are a lot of blue fans, it seems, around North
Yeah.
America.
Well, the phrase is, and like has been being said since about Equestrian Odysseys, is that blue's too good. So when you get told that the whole time and you find a good blue deck, chances are you're just going to play the good blue deck. Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. And I suppose it goes to say that is blue being so good in high magic and Marks and Time, people have invested in getting those night gliders and in getting that
Yeah.
Luna, and so they're gonna keep using it, right?
Yeah, like, why wouldn't you? There's no reason not to. So, like, the thing is, I know how ridiculous this deck is, but I still feel like the tools are out there to keep it under bay. We just need to actually play them.
I certainly. Well, I mean, yes, I haven't played against it enough to be sure, but I think
I haven't
well,
played against it. Well, no, I technically have kind of played a variant of it because just pink blue aggro that uses Spitfire and Angel Wings is the deck list in summary.
in essence, yeah,
And I've definitely played against that. And the honest answer is the new Twilight can annoy it a lot.
good point. Good point.
If you just get a good start, and even if you get a sort of pseudo lockdown really late, if they're not boarding stuff to straight up just get rid of the trollmakers. I know that it has a lot of dilemmas and stuff, but you do have solutions to that if you're storing action tokens. Cutie Pox Scare still exists. Like, if you just get the trollmakers down and have enough ATs to support it, which, if they're making the game go super fast, you could have just sat for like 2-3 turns to store 8.
Yeah.
And just go, cool, I'm going to start locking you out now. It's just like that for me, I think, is what will have to happen, and then we'll sort of have this balance of aggro control, etc., and it might even itself out. I can't call whether or not it'll actually happen because I'm not really involved in the meta, obviously in the highly competitive meta game, because I'm in the UK. I can't really be involved with the highly competitive meta game. It's not a thing.
Yeah, I understand that. But yeah, I certainly hope so. And there was kind of a glimmer of that on the horizon. And this is the third story of regionals that I saw. Did you happen to pay attention to the Denver regionals post?
I have got both of them open right now.
Alrighty. So you see Critical Thoughts' Cruel Mistress deck down there.
Let's see. I'll need to go over it again.
Well, I can just bring it up on stream here as well.
Oh, okay, cool.
Which here we are. I thought I had it. Oh, okay. This is the epic free list. Denver. Here we are. Cool. It's fortunately kind of large, but yeah. So this deck excited me a lot when I saw it for the first time.
Yeah, I remember going over this and having a smile on my face. Just because of one card specifically made me smirk quite a lot. Jet Set and Upper Crust actually in a deck list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just so cool. That's just great to me.
And like it works for its purpose.
Yeah.
It's actually incredible.
So It's genuinely like an incredibly logical pick because you have to have at least 3 friends there. When people like to be confronting with 2 friends, etc. nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Well, as
Like,
like
it's great.
when he posted the primer for it, he said like Jetset Uppercrust is primarily an anti-farming card, where you throw Alicorn Amulet on it, and then AJ just can't do anything. So, yeah, and well, the card that really brought the biggest smile on my face was actually Smooth over here, where you use Luna's Future to put 3 more +1 power counters on it, and then okay, now you got to beat this thing 5 times if you want it to go away.
Oh, that's just grim.
Mm-hmm.
It's hilarious. And my favorite part is that Blue's solution to it is just defeat the troublemaker, isn't it? Because they pick win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That doesn't solve the issue at all.
No.
Cute.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot here that is to be desired.
I like it. Yeah, I saw it and I did like it a lot. It sort of put a smile on my face. But it runs a thing that I think shouldn't be a thing anymore, personally, which is gyro f-stop. The toolbox that goes on forever. Yeah. I don't think that should be a thing. That's just ridiculous in terms of card design.
Yeah, well, it's certainly worth being said that it's hard to imagine a world where that stops being good at some point.
Yeah, like when will having a tool like, oh, I can run one of every card and then always have it and have it as many times as I want. Like, what? Why?
Yeah. Yeah. Because as we go on, it's kind of the oldest joke in the game, really, that like F-Stop is the card that gets better every expansion because there are always more events.
And there's always more good events that people will want to play.
So, yeah, that's kind of the issue. And I talked about this a little bit in my kind of article this week on the Reddit, that it seems I made a purple orange deck this week with Professor Sparkle, and threw in a little bit of white because obviously you need a little bit of white. And here is a purple white deck that throws in just a little bit of orange with Factory Jack. And it seems like to me in the current meta, the distinction between purple white and purple orange is basically not there anymore. There's just control decks that run some mix of those 3 colors, and the only thing that changes is the amount.
Yeah, which ones you sort of dedicate to and which ones you splash, so to speak.
Yeah. In fact, I even happen to know of a fellow, one of my friends over in Vancouver, who was building an orange-white splashes a bit of purple deck.
It's because they're basically the 3 control colors now, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At least troublemaker control colors. Obviously, pink still has its "I'ma kill you and your friend."
Yeah.
But these are definitely the troublemaker dedicated control type deck lists to, the colors you use for those.
Totally. Yeah. And actually, the other thing that caught me about this deck that I thought was kind of interesting, well, first of all, is Ambassador of Friendship up here, right? Which, we've been talking about Professor Sparkle for a couple of weeks here on the stream.
Yeah.
And it was me building my deck this week for my article that kind of made me think that maybe this Twilight Mane is still better. I'm still not sure yet, but maybe she is. Because the thing is, like,
it's the flip condition
that
makes this one on most cases kind of better, because confronting problems is, in the metagame as it is a questionable game action.
Yeah.
Which, if the game, or at least in my eyes, functioned how it should, then the newer Twilight would just be better, because confronting problems wouldn't be difficult. Confronting problems would be a thing that actually could happen. But there's a lot of other factors going on.
Yeah.
So to speak.
So that's another really difficult decision that I'm kind of vacillating on right now, is whether to go back to Equestrian Odyssey's Twilight or stick with Defenders. Yeah, because basically, Professor Sparkle says you have to dedicate a little bit of your deck to confronting a problem.
A problem,
right? But at the same,
which is okay.
Yeah, like she kind of covers it by saying that like inside your main is your troublemakers will never lose, right? And so
yeah, like
theoretically, you can maybe remove some of this stuff down here that you don't really need anymore.
Yeah, it's like, because she herself is like a long list of events that you could run.
Basically, yeah.
And thus you can take out to play easy to play friends or whatever.
Yeah. It remains to be seen. Which actually I should see to it quickly. Because FurryCon is in like what, 5 days? Something like that.
It's not far away.
Not far away at all, no.
Is the honest answer.
Yeah. So that's what I'll be doing this week. So let's see. Talked about Galacon. Fortunately, nothing really to say there.
Nothing to say. Although it's also kind of a bad news for the UK is that a lot of people are building, like trying to build sort of tier 1.5 decks and just going, it isn't fun to actually play the deck. Because obviously, like, as soon as I saw them, I knew them because I've gone to all the bigger events. And like, yeah, quite a few people I'm just like, I'm playing with my mono orange and I'm there having an absolute blast. Doing okay. And then they're just like, I'm not even having fun. And I'm like, oh, you know?
Oh.
So it's like, yeah. I'm kind of concerned that, like, just tier 1 play is just going to disappear from the UK, really, because nobody's going to enjoy it. Which, honestly, like, that's all right. I can deal with that. My local metagame is casual competitive, not super competitive like big cons would be.
Yeah.
So I'm always up for a game that's like that rather than tier 1 stuff. But it's like, having a competitive metagame in the country would at least be nice.
Yeah. I think, in my experience, there aren't many local metagames around that are, convention competitive in general. Like, you're going from my experience in like Vancouver, say, there's usually like 2 or 3 people who are on that level, and everybody else is somewhere more casual, and that's fine. But yeah, I guess kind of as you say, it's just more as a matter of we are a serious country as far as the game goes. There should be someone
that actually enjoys it, and it doesn't seem like there is. And to be fair, everyone, like all the sort of big groups that want to play in a competitive way, are moving to block constructed. Block 2 mainly. I don't think I've heard of anyone playing block 1. But I am insisting that my group plays block 1, and then I keep forgetting to actually build a deck for myself. So, I think it'll be mono orange with Spike, my home. And it'll probably be pretty controlling, make use of Popping Corn, that Canterlot Knight's one that when you play something or move something, you instantly exhaust it and stuff. Something kind of simple,
right?
But fun. But yeah, I hope we'll be able to have a competitive metagame. It probably just won't be Harmony, which I'm okay with. I have enjoyed Block 2 quite a lot myself.
Yeah, I mean that's.
I honestly wish Enterplay would do something with them. because like everything is Harmony still, and they made the extra formats like what 2 years ago now, and officially they haven't done anything with them except create them.
Pretty much, as far as I'm
Which I
aware.
think is like an absolutely massive shame, because dude, more formats means there's more way of actually playing the game. Why do you think people like played Pauper? There was a huge swing for the Pauper format a while back. Like, it's because people want more ways to play the game, but Enterplay apparently don't feel like supporting anything other than Harmony, which I don't really understand. Because the reason why stuff like, I don't know, let's say Magic or Pokemon has a rotation system is because it sells new sets.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
like, and even if the power level isn't ridiculous, it still means the new set will sell because it'll have a staple for, it'll have staple for the new block or standard or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But as it is, if Enterplay print a set where there's nothing for Harmony, people probably just won't buy it.
Yeah, I mean,
but if they had a block system, I'd be like, oh, new. Like, say if the next set is a new block, even if everything in the set sucks, I'm going to be like, oh, new block. I'm going to get all the commons and uncommons and let's build some decks in this block. Like, just because it's a new way to play the game.
Yeah, totally. It's not just product focused. When you have like the rotation system, it makes it easy for people to get. It makes it easier for people to get into the game.
Yeah,
obviously.
But like, obviously, I picked like the easiest sort of look. It makes things sell. Say, because that's obviously like at the end of the day, the focus is on selling the product. There's no point investing money into developing and testing the game if nothing of it sells.
That's the simplest way.
That's kind of a simple fact.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So, I think that kind of covers all the news.
So a Reddit post that I really like, that was made, your wish list of banned cards. So with Vapor Trail being banned, I know a lot of people are thinking about other cards they like to see banned. What's your wish list of cards that you believe should be banned? Give us your reasons, and here's the challenging part, in the most objective way you can. Now, I like the little challenge at the end of, in the most objective way you can. That's the part that got me interested in it, because it's not like, oh, I keep losing to X, so it should be banned. Well, yeah, but other people's experience with it could be very different.
Yeah. So, well, I assume you brought this up because you have I
have been mulling on it. Like, it's one of those ones where I've been mulling on it a lot, and I think I have quite a few options that like I could easily explain, and it would just make sense. And so for me, it's the cost-free cards, the genuinely cost-free cards. Obviously, the new ones you have to discard 2 cards as well, so that's got a cost. I mean, the Cancel on Night Showdown cycle, the
Crystal Games, Breezies,
yeah, things like that. Why? Because every time there's a good, when you play an event, do this thing for a face-off, or when you play a friend type thing, those cards will always come up as, oh look, some combo bait, if the effect's good enough. Otherwise, no one's going to play them. So why don't you just ban them? Because then there you go. They can't just be turned into combo bait.
So the Breezies, or at least Rarity, saw play in Octavia a while back, and still sometimes shows up in Octavia decks. Now, besides that, I totally agree with you. That those cards that that they have been one of those building blocks that has shown up in so many combo decks, and
and it's always kind of the fault of because they're free.
Yeah, pretty much. It's. I'll give it to Enterplay that like at the time it was a cool idea.
It's a cool design. I liked it when the Breezes were printed. I was like, oh hey, that episode I found really mediocre had a cool through line of card cycle. That's cute. But now I'm like, friends shouldn't cost 0. No.
Yeah.
Don't make friends cost 0. That things costing 0, I've learned from seeing what's happened in the game, isn't a very good thing for this game. it relies very heavily on the way its resource system works, and when things cost 0, it kind of enables things that the game doesn't want. Or at least from what I've seen over the past quite a few years, I guess.
Yeah, I would feel really inclined to agree. The Breezies have kind of just. I'm a little surprised that they don't get more tension.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true that it's been a little while since they last showed up in a really oppressive deck, but kind of like you say, it's pretty clear to me that there's an issue with these cards, that like more people are looking at them as a way to.
And don't get me wrong, I totally understand why they haven't just outright banned these cards. They are interesting for gameplay in a sort of design and gameplay perspective. But to me, anyway, from what I've seen, when they get played, the only reason to play them is because combo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's kind of like I work in software. And by the way, this is related. Give me a second. And I sometimes say it like when people want to add new features to a tool set or new features to a framework. The amount of cool things you can do with them should be weighed against the amount of stupid things you can do with them. And and yeah, so these are one area I think where experience has shown that the amount of stupid things you can do with them outweighs the amount of cool things you can do with them.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So another one that came to my mind is something I basically mentioned earlier, which is gyro f-stop.
I believe, well, f-stop is here.
One of the two.
Comment, but
yeah. One of the two for me is like, it has to be one of the two. Because either you have to make it so you draw into them, or you have to make it so that when you get your copy, you get one copy.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, it's the sort of, as I said, it's the sort of way of playing where you have a toolbox, but it's not really a toolbox because you have 80 spanners, you have 80 you have 80 of every single tool in it because you can always get it back.
Yeah.
Which, for me, doesn't feel like how the game should be able to play.
Yeah.
So I'd say the bigger out of the two is probably f-stop, as just searching for something is never going to be the worst. But I feel like if they just came back to f-stop design and printed a 2-for-2 with 4 white requirement, and you paid 2 and exhausted him to return an event, or maybe 3 for balancing purposes, then you could have decks like that. It just needs to be less efficient than 1 and exhaust, because that is very, very efficient.
Yeah, it's true. Like so on the one hand, I want to say, I mean, you can't get rid of f-stop because like that's how control works. That's how
control works. But I feel like you should be able to have control decks that don't have to do that.
Yeah, and obviously, if you get rid of him, we'll find a way. There's, the game will just adapt.
The game has diverse people that like playing different types of decks. They will make it work in some form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If it's possible, it'll be there.
Yeah. Now,
another one for me, just from a subjective standpoint, I know it doesn't see an insane amount of play anymore, but I personally ban RTO just because of the rules update and how it sort of stands. It stands out in terms of card design as it's designed for an older form of the game. Not because it's broken, not because of that, just because it's got a weird, janky, and old-feeling design for how the game is now.
Yeah, I can kind of see.
Just because, like, it feels like a card that you'd compare too many cards to. Because it's like, oh, but it's not as good as that. Yeah, but it's not as good as, and it's like, yeah, but nothing's rarity truly outrageous because that card says in its own name that it's kind of outrageous.
The oldest joke in the entire game.
Yeah, like it's just there you go.
Yeah, I mean,
and a lot of people. Another one that I think's perfectly okay, but a lot of people seem to be calling for is Dr. Hooves.
Yeah, see, that's
like I personally think he's fine. Yeah, he's like, oh, but you can do these things where you kind of lock your opponent out of the game. It's like, then play removal.
Yeah, like I think
It's a face, like, they have to be able to flip cards to keep you in this lock. Cool. Pick a time when they're not making you flip cards. Cool. That's the perfect time to go, he's gone now.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
part of it
fine.
might be that our introduction to him was as part
was
of
very negative.
Yeah.
He didn't have the best introduction, but like the honest answer is, for absolutely ages we've had Canterlot Knight's Spike, where it's like you exhaust him and do something similar-ish. You look at the bottom two cards of your deck and put one on top or something, and it's like, cool.
Yeah.
If they want to make that loop, they'll just use Spike instead. Like, Doctor Who's isn't the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's entirely like what Doctor Who's did for the game was he made all these chaos cards suddenly work, basically.
like,
right? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not just putting all these cards in my deck and hoping I'm going to flip one.
Flip it.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, if you were to get rid of him, you'd be getting rid of a lot more than just whatever oppressive things people. And I put oppressive in quotes here of what people might be able to do.
You see, my one issue with Doctor Who's is he's very unfun to play against. But then again, Control's always unfun to play against. It's one of those things you have to get used to.
Pretty much the point of Control.
If you play card games that has a sort of a 3-star system, as I've sort of nicknamed it, which is Control, mid-range, aggro, Control is always unfun to play against. Like, that's just a fact. And for the Control player, aggro's always really unfun to play against. It's one of those. Like, there is going to be some decks that aren't enjoyable to play against from just a gameplay perspective, because they stop you from playing the game in the way you want.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's kind of just the way of it, unfortunately. But yeah.
So one that I feel like I'd put on the list myself, but I don't know if anyone else would. I think Trading Traditions should get banned because it enables too much. That's just a personal opinion, though.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh man, I'm going to be able to play every card in my deck from turn 2 because Trading Traditions, yeah! And I'm like, okay, but should a player be able to do that? And personally, for game balance, don't think so.
I don't know.
But then again, I'm the person who plays pink-white Party of One, so take what I say with a grain of salt, I guess, because I like denying requirement.
Yeah. See, that's the thing.
And to be fair, and then again, one of the reasons why I don't like it is because I've won so many games to, oh hey, is your Trading Traditions gone? I play Party of One. Oh cool, I lose now. And I'm like, the deck shouldn't be built in a way that happens either.
Yeah. I was going to bring up, like, one of the things, and to be fair, it wasn't just Trading Traditions, it was also Ancient Research that kind of brought this on, was, the sort of pink tech into replace your Trading Traditions on, like, turn 2, and I win, right? That's...
That shouldn't be a thing. That shouldn't be a thing in deck building, in my mind, anyway.
Mm-hmm. And, you can build your deck to be robust against that. But
sometimes you'll just get dead cards, and it'll be like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So like, one could view that as saying, like, Trading Traditions happened, and people incorporated it, and then people countered it by doing stuff like you do. Excuse me. And now, either people who use Trading Traditions are going to make decks that are resistant to it, and they're still going to be good, or also going to realize, well, actually, if I have to play around the counters, then this problem's not very good, and stop using it, right? So that's kind of the argument that, things will work themselves out.
But then the pink-blue deck exists, and it's just you want to harm.
Oh.
Yeah.
We have chat.
Yes. F-stop is dealable with, you are correct. But it still feels like a game state that you can create that I personally, as I've said, this is all personal opinion as well. It's a game state that I don't think should be able to be in the game, where you have, I have this for this specific matchup. Oh, hey, look, I can play it 20 times in that specific matchup now. As I said, basically. I know it can be dealt with, and a lot of people can remove him now. But I'll also sort of say that a lot of the good removal is like food fight and etc., where it's like, oh, get rid of a thing that's kind of big, and he just got 1 power.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe printing a version of him that's a 3 for 3, so it's like he reads, "I die to everything." Oops. Could make me feel a bit better about it.
Yeah.
But the fact that he gets underneath quite a few things, like the stuff that's run because it's just generally good, is part of the issue, because he's immune to more than you want him, than I personally would like him to be.
Yeah, and I think you have a good point in that, like, if I don't know too much about how games like Magic work, but I know that like tutoring for events, and I know that's kind of the Magic term to get a.
Do you want to know the origin? Do you want to know the origin of the term tutor?
After I'm done making my point here, so like that seems like something that the game should have. It seems like that's something that if you want to be able really to run a competent control deck, you should kind of be able to do that, because you need a bunch of answers to various things. I can agree with like the idea that really should be in the game, and it's true that like F-stop is a whole nother beast entirely. To say I can only have 3 of these in my deck. No, I can have as many of them as I want. Yeah, and so I think like if you get rid of that card, that's the one that we can adapt to. We can get by without that. Gyro would be a little bit harder to get rid of and still be able to have good control decks.
Because like you're then kind of forced to run pink so that you can just draw cards and then go, do I get it? No. Oh dear, I lost.
Yeah.
And playing the lottery like that when you're playing control kind of feels bad for the control player. Obviously, it's great for the person who beat them. But for me as a control player, I always liked the idea of being able to get the answer. But if then obviously they have another copy of it, and I was like, I was a fool and I only had 1 copy of the answer in my deck. That's just my fault.
Yeah.
But with F-stop, it's not your fault. You just get it again, and you just get rid of him.
Yeah. Now the interesting thing, if I look, because I believe, let me see, was it iMagic or was it Odysseys? I believe it was Odysseys, actually. We had, if I can find her here.
Pinky.
No, I'm looking for Moondancer. There, the sort of block F-stop.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Who? No. She's not. She's obviously terrible compared to F-stop, but perhaps an idea of like a way that you could do this without it being so bad, right?
Yeah, like because with this one, it's you get the card twice, which is still very good, but it's not you get the card infinite.
Yeah.
Ooh, I had a fun thought actually. What if it's an F-stop, but it has hoity-toity's line of text where if an event would enter your discard pile, you banish it instead? That would also be pretty balanced.
Yeah, that'd be an idea. Yeah. Like I was thinking of like maybe a resource that you play and then, like banish this to get an event back from your discard pile or something.
Yeah. Like, you can make that cost 1.
Yeah.
And it's just like, exhaust and banish it, or maybe not even exhaust and banish it. Just like banish it, I think you could stick immediate on it. Like, immediate, banish this card, return that event from your discard to hand.
Yeah.
Because, like, especially I'm going to talk quickly about Magic's recent design. In Magic's recent design, whenever you get something back, often the thing that got it back goes away forever. Or it goes away in a way that you can't just get it back from your discard straight away. So, like, a good example of this is this huge spell they printed that costed quite a lot of mana, because mana's the resource. And it was like, cool, get things, 1 of each. So, for every cost that exists, so 1 to, say, 10, get a card of that cost. Then put this card on the bottom of your deck. So it's like, obviously, it's not like, oh, I'll just chain copies of this card because it's not going to your discard. It just goes to the bottom of your deck, and you're like, oh, well, there you go. Now, say with a card like Gyro, obviously you can then just go and get it again.
Right. Yeah.
But making a deck that puts Gyro in your discard to then get it back, say with a card like that, and then do it again, probably incredibly inefficient as far as I know. Don't quote me. People will find a way or something. But it's like, so I feel like they need to make it so that cards that recur things are difficult to recur themselves, or impossible even.
Yeah.
And that always kind of just keeps them balanced. So obviously, say with this banishes what it recurred, which means obviously you're never going to get it back. Obviously, like Hoity Toity, where you can play stuff from your discard, it means if anything would go to your discard, it's just gone forever.
Yeah.
Which once again, can't really get it back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think if they got rid of F-Stop and tried maybe making a card like this that just cost a little less, it was a bit easier to play because a 4/4 is hefty.
Yeah.
It's like really hefty. Then I'd be perfectly okay with it. And it wouldn't feel like, oh, and now they're just gonna, play their best answer 40 times. It's like, oh, they're gonna actually have to get to all these answers, and they're gonna play them. And if they run out, they've run out. I've managed to overcome them.
Yeah. I feel
it's the sort of feel of not being able to overcome it is the part that makes it kind of feel bad. Where it's like they're just never gonna run out of that. With F-Stop in the sort of metagame, if you can't get rid of F-Stop, they're never going to run out of the answer that they keep using on you.
Yeah. I think like if you wanted to kind of summarize it, you could say like being able to have 5 Cutie Pox scares in your deck, say for example, is already good enough. Like that's already.
If you've not won after being able to play 5 Cutie Pox scare, like why not?
Yeah, that's already something that no other deck could get, right? That's already the thing about your deck that's unfair, which, yeah, and so having infinity is just unnecessary.
Yeah. That is like the summary of the point of why I think F-Stop is a card that's just kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's just the fact that it literally goes infinite on its own.
In essence, and yeah, of course,
yeah.
There's all sorts of the guy Destiny Drain's a thing, Meticulous Misfire's a thing. If your opponent's abusing their discard pile, then you can just get rid of it, etc., etc.
But they're both purple.
They are.
Do you want a metagame where you have to run purple to answer the fact, or your opponent literally has infinite copies of each card? I mean, I don't, personally. I don't like being told how to play the game. I want to do it how I want to do it.
Yeah.
So unless they print, if they print a colorless magical misfire type effect, which is a thing that happens in Magic all the time, actually. I'd say that's probably a good answer, actually, now that I think about it. A colorless magical misfire type effect. Purple gets the one that draws a card. Everyone else gets the one that costs 2. I don't know. That's how you could have it. And it just banishes a discard pile. Or all discard piles, so purple's the only one that gets to be biased.
Yeah.
If you're not purple... Because, wait, is magical misfire all discards, or is it just one? I don't...
It is banish a discard pile, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So if you say have the one that anyone can use does both discards, you can have purple being the biased, I want to banish just your discard so I can still do gross things color. Because you know what? Purple does like doing gross things. Yeah, in a discard pile. So yeah, as I said, if you had, say, yellow, blue, pink, and I don't know, orange. Well, no, orange does like its discard. So, obviously, these colorless ones would be really good in orange, in blue, pink, yellow, because recursion is low. Let's see, pink has Pinky's Epiphany, and that's all I can really think of right now that is actually in recursion for specifically those monocolored
yeah
colors.
Yeah. white recurs resources, but
Sometimes. That's why I didn't really mention white. Like,
oh, I
white
see.
likes
Sorry.
recurring resources.
I
Orange
guess
likes having
white.
a discard pile.
I guess white actually recurs troublemakers now as well, but yeah, you're right. Orange appreciates
Just
discard.
having it. Not like it's going to take any cards from it. If anything, it's going to get rid of it itself using all sorts of cards like Zap Apples, etc.
Yeah.
But it likes having it. So obviously in Orange, it would be a slight downside the fact that you have to get rid of your own as well. So there you go. That's my pitch. And to play, print a resource that banishes all discard piles, and it's colorless. It's a simple card that I don't think anyone would be like, oh, it's the end of the game. Why would you print that? It's just a good answer that anyone can run if they really want to.
Yeah. See, the interesting thing is, I feel like Interplay's kind of been dodging around. Well, I don't know what dodging around, but kind of avoiding this idea of having a generic answer that's in all colors, right? Like the closest thing that I can think of to a colorless card that served a specific purpose was Seabreeze's Flower, which was kind of technically a yellow card. Besides,
that wasn't its genuine design.
Yeah.
Is the issue. Its genuine design was like, well, it enables yellow, but it also does a yellow thing, and you don't have to. And it's like, well, that's cool. But it's now everyone else's answer to resources when it's not in your color.
Basically. Yeah. But so, like, the basic thing, it seems to be that they've avoided giving all colors access to, generic, here's some removal, here's some, etc. Here's a way to deal with this. And, whether or not that was a good idea is its own question. But
yeah, like I do understand the whole sort of keep colors in their colors sort of design, but there is also a limit to that design because there's a reason colorless exists. There's a reason why in colorless you can technically use the effect of any friend because of Chrissy. There's a reason why in colorless you have these really strange answers that we didn't really see before colorless cards were printed, like you can't draw more than 2 cards a turn, or you can't score more than X amount of points, or you can't confront more than one problem. And that's because some effects are so out there that they don't really belong in a color, or it belongs in colorless for some reason. And probably because of my roots in Magic, I've always felt that just getting rid of discard piles is a colorless thing. But that's obviously because they printed so many things in Magic that does it on colorless. So I'm probably a bit biased. But it feels like a colorless thing just because it's like some colors will interact with it this way, some colors will interact with it that way. But it doesn't feel like something could be, it doesn't feel like a color's identity could be, let's get rid of a discard pile. Because it doesn't feel like it would be a focus of any sort of character in that color or anything like that. At least to me, anyway. It's like, what if we say the colors are each represent the main 6? What does the main 6 have to do with stuff that's just kind of buried in the floor, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, so
like none of them are an archaeologist.
Well, so like, if you wanted to turn this into a character discussion and a flavor discussion. Like, Rarity has the getting resources back with the idea of like resurrecting old-fashioned trends and stuff.
Yeah, like
that's okay.
There's no one who destroys the past. I guess you could say Turek, but he's only a troublemaker, which is technically colorless.
Yeah.
And actually, that's a fair point now that I think about it. If we talk flavor, the main people who want to destroy the past are villains, and villains are frequently put as colorless cards.
Yeah.
There you go.
Actually, so yeah, like have like a troublemaker who, when he flips, banishes the discard piles. That's that's
there you go. That wouldn't be broken. You could make him a 0 bonus 5. I don't know. Or if you really wanted to push it, a 1 bonus 6. Because it's like, well, there's a chance your opponents will get points because you completely buggered their strategy.
Yeah. I would say.
Heck, if we find out from the movie that the movie villain just like wants to erase Equestria, that would kind of work flavor-wise.
We've had
Everything in the past is gone. We've had a trailer, but that's not really revealed much.
Everything in the past is gone. That's Starlight Glimmer's thing, isn't it?
That is fair. Well, no, it was specifically I hate Twilight. Lol, 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 lol.
Yes.
She would banish all the main 6 from discard piles.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was terrible. Because obviously it was never her intent. Why are we talking about the show now? Oh well, it was never her intent to like completely bugger the entire world. Like you found that out when Twilight took her to a calamity future, and she's like, "What? You're lying."
Yeah, I guess.
Obviously, like it was never her intent to completely destroy it. I guess we could incorporate flipping cards. Then they could be like, because she had Chrono Trigger, so it's like Starlight Glimmer, Accidental Calamity. And it's like you flip a coin, if heads, banish all discards. Some good old random chance. She accidentally made everything wrong.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that was something that I was considering just this past week. The idea of having cards that sort of, for reasons of overly flavorfulness. Sorry, I just made that up. Like target specific stuff. Like one of the things that I thought of was having a Celestia card that was like Princess Celestia, Equestria's champion, and like when this card enters, banish all the Nightmare Moons.
But you see, my issue with that is like it. Would you have a main 6 card that then makes it so all Nightmare Moons become friends on your side?
Good point.
Just let all the flavor go, like
yeah.
Because you've always got to sort of, for me anyway, you always want to put mechanics before flavor. So you go, we have this, we have a thing that mechanically does this. What fits flavorfully? And so obviously I was going, banishing discard piles, what fits flavorfully? And I'm like, well, villains, because they want to destroy the past and make it so, they're the only history. And it's like, well, yeah, that works.
Yeah.
But then obviously, like, having these things that do really niche specific things is a bit weird, but also always a bit of fun.
Totally.
Like Prismatic.
Good point, yeah.
I want it to be good. I want it to be so good. I want it to be the best mechanic they ever printed.
I mean, so there's a point.
You know what? A thing that makes me sad: the movie trailers. No crystal ponies. Don't even have an excuse to go back to Prismatic in the movie.
See, that's the thing. Actually, there's no particular reason why they can't give us more crystal ponies in cards.
But there's no reason to give us more crystal ponies because they existed and now we don't care. Well, at least the show doesn't seem to care.
I guess.
And it's just like, there's no reason why you can't just be like, all right, cool, we're going to do Prismatic again, but we're going to make it actually kind of good. And not like on only 6 cards.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Although they still do that. They did it on 3 cards, all of which are ultra rare.
None of which are particularly amazing.
Particularly great. But, like... Also, just a side question. Why haven't they hired E-Bugle to be part of R&D again? He was part of R&D? I'm lost on this one. Was it E-Bugle was part of R&D? Or what?
So...
In the past?
I am not particularly familiar with his...
Neither am I.
His past. He is here in the chat. He hasn't said anything yet, but he is here on the stream.
But a side note is, they need to hire E-Bugle again if he was, I think. Because every time there's a card that needs banning, it's E-Bugle's fault. He's the one who made the combo.
It's not, there is a support group, actually, of folks. It's pretty much, there's a cabal, if you will, of folks who deal with that kind of stuff. Of which, of course, Bugle is a member. But one shouldn't ascribe the blame entirely to his feet.
It's more hyperbolic than it is genuine.
Yeah.
But it's like, So could they talk to this group and do something, because they noticed them like in a month after the release, and I would think in theory when designing cards they'd notice these kind of things quite quickly, and I feel like they'd be quite a good set of people to employ for R&D.
Yeah, I don't know. That's Interplay's business. I guess.
Just a side note, that's been a thing that's randomly on my mind. Any other random things? I'm sure I had another random thing that's been on my mind.
Well, you did promise to tell us about tutoring a while back, and I cut you off.
Oh yes, tutoring. The origin of tutoring. The first card in the entirety of Magic that searched for another card was called Demonic Tutor. So it's called tutoring. That's it. That's the origin story. It's so underwhelming.
I feel like I already knew that.
Yeah. Do you want to know why it's called mill?
Okay.
When you put cards from the top of your deck into your graveyard.
That I do remember. At least I think I do, because that came up in some other video I watched. That was Millstone.
Millstone, the first card to ever make it so that you mill. So it's called mill.
Yeah.
Magic players don't really have imaginative ways of naming things. Do you want to know why it's called looting when you draw cards and then discard cards?
I didn't actually know that's what it was called.
Yeah, it's called looting because the first card to do it was called Merfolk Looter. Well, not the first card. The card that people took note of as a very good card that did it. It's just like, whoa, we're good at naming things, guys. Although it does lead into a very funny joke in the unsets, where it's a card that's called a looter because it's literally in the art he's stolen some art and ran away.
Oh,
because he looted the place. So that was fun. But yeah, it's like if you hear someone use a Magic term, chances are it's because a card named it did it first, or did it good first.
yeah. Well, I mean, technically, that's what we have with Experienced, right? Kind of.
I guess. But then again, it's more because naming Doctor Who's Experienced made flavorful sense.
Yeah.
And then a mechanic that did the thing that he did, naming it Experienced, made flavorful sense. Looting, representing the drawing and discarding of cards, like, I guess you could, on a limb, sort of connect it, but it's not that flavorful. Tutor is an awkward word that they shouldn't have used, but it kind of makes sense because they teach you how to do it. So you've been tutored, and then you go get it. Because the idea with Magic is that everything is spells.
Yeah.
But it's just like,
Yeah.
tutor of all things to choose.
Yeah. And of course, the same can be said for Mill. It like remotely makes sense, maybe, but
It's just like, no. Then again, like, mill works because it's a one-syllable word. It's just mill. Like, that's so easy. Tutor for me, I've always kind of had a syllable. Why isn't it just search? But it's tutor because of Magic.
yeah.
Well, anyway, naming how card game work terms aside, Vape Trail got banned. Is there anything? To be fair, I've been talking about cards I think could be banned and why. Go on. Do you have any that I didn't say?
No, really. I mean, to be honest, when I saw that post, the breezies and the showdowns were the main thing that popped into my mind. The things that really shouldn't be here, and I think those, like, honestly, I think those are the ones that, like, get rid of those, and then we'll see where it goes. Now, like, part of that was me, being the control player and saying, no, don't touch my F-stop, what are you doing? But having had this conversation, now I'm starting to...
Honestly, oh yeah, another thing I bought at Garlicon, 3 copies of F-stop. I just bought 3 copies of him. I still think he should be banned.
Oh, really, yeah?
Yeah, I just got hold of copies so that I could start doing the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still like, yeah, he should be banned. I was buying him in mind that he could get banned at any moment.
Yeah, I guess.
But, like, it's so good that you kind of just have to have it.
Such is the case, yeah. I remember when I first started playing the game, this was back in Carolette Nights, and
Oh, nostalgia.
Yeah. And for the longest time, I just like had a vendetta against Cloud Chaser. I just like, no, I'm never gonna buy that stupid card. That's just the worst card in the game. And eventually, I bought it.
Yeah. Card Chaser, as soon as I saw it, I was like, they did what? What? Why did they print that? Without requirement on it? Why did you print this card without requirement on it? And honestly, I think that point still stands. The fact she doesn't have requirement.
Yep.
But otherwise, I think she's a perfectly fine card. She's Blue's way of being purple.
It's fair to
And
say.
yeah, it's a bit weird, but honestly, it's fine. It was early days. It can be a relic.
Yeah.
That we sort of just keep in the game because it's never completely broken. It's just very, very strong.
Yep. That's true. It was a card that like back then it sure seemed like it was never going to go away, and I was so surprised. I mean, I didn't even really notice. I just kind of woke up one morning. I was like, hey, people don't play Cloud Chaser anymore.
Yeah, like there you go. It's because there's cards you like. Why play an inefficient early card to make other things efficient when everything's already efficient? Cards are just good now.
Yeah.
Cloud Chaser made bad cards nice, but cards are just good now.
Good point.
Also, your voice is sounding a bit weird and all roboty.
Sorry?
Your voice is sounding all weird.
Oh. I mean, I would feel like asking the chat if that's something that. Do I sound like a normal human being?
It's a good question. Do I sound like a normal human being?
Or, kind of.
Wibbly wobbly.
I mean,
guess is the best way to put it.
Oh, okay. Huh. But it's still like understandable, right?
Yeah, I can understand you, but it's like if it is on the stream,
Okay.
it doesn't sound great.
I'll have to go back and watch and listen to the recording afterwards to see if.
It's a good thing we're basically at the end now, right?
Pretty much, yeah. For those of you.
God. Here's a fun little question, and I guess anyone else can answer it if they're watching like the stream archive on YouTube. What is the card you're most nostalgic about from starting the game that is just kind of bad now? For me, I have a soft spot for Eagle, and I wouldn't say he's bad now, but I wouldn't say he's good now.
So, sorry, just to clarify, when you say it's bad now, does that imply that it had to have been good before?
No, it doesn't have to have been good, but it's a card you could actually play and not feel like, oh my gosh, why am I playing this card? At least I would guess.
Okay.
Something that's not like headbutt the wall bad.
Okay.
Like that Snips and Snails that's like a 4 for 3 and has eccentric 1. Like I wouldn't accept that on the list because that card is just bad, and I'm pretty sure it's always been bad.
Okay, fair enough.
Another one is Vital Stand. Actually, I think Vital Stand is one that will stand out to me a lot.
That's actually a good.
I really, really like Vital Stand, man. It's so cool. Now we have it for 1 action token each time you use it on a main, since it's Equestrian Odysseys. So that's nice.
Yeah. So one of the cards. Okay, like one of the first real decks that I ever actually built in this, even it wasn't even great, was a deck that used Carolot Knight's Fancy Pen.
Dude, I love him. He's so cool.
I know, right? And gone now, obviously, because Pumped is kind of it's slow, and you'll get like 2 cards, and then any of a number of immediates show up, and he's bad.
Yeah. Also, an issue with him is you invest into him, and removal is good now, so he is dead.
Yeah.
Oh well.
It was actually so. As one of my things before going to BronyCon, I looked into maybe seeing about that old deck and like, okay, maybe I could freshen it up and spruce it up for the new times, right? And so I got midway through building it, and then I was like, man, this Fancy Pants, he's just dragging the deck down. I gotta get rid of it.
Yeah, he has got that feel to him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, in theory, he's cool because, dude, showdown events, but like, yeah, you can invest into him a lot, and then it's like, oh, I'm about to win this face-off. Cool, I'll play Rutherford, and it's like, oh dear.
And those cards
There
are
they
just gone.
go.
Yep.
Yeah, Pumped feels a little bit too fragile.
Excuse me.
If they made a version of Pumped that was like, I don't know how you'd make it less fragile. I'm not sure.
So like the ones that were like, so long as there's a card underneath it, this card gets some extra benefit.
Yeah,
Those
and ones
are,
which you spent when you spent the card like immediately.
yeah.
Like with Eagle, it's like it's underneath Eagle, I move it. And it's like, yep, there you go.
Yeah.
Those ones feel like a good way of designing it. Fancy Pants is an interesting way of designing it, but it shows its weakness where it's just like, oh no, I lost everything. Oops. It's like, oops.
Yeah. You could do it with something like, here's an idea for a card. Like, after you win a face-off involving this card, you may banish your flipped cards to score an extra point for each one.
Oh. Well, Pumped had a balance thing where you could only get one card each time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, would you have to make it only one card each time for him? Otherwise, people would just be like, well, I'm going to flip these many cards and blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, see, yeah, that'd be the thing. It's like you can kind of bootstrap a few things together and say, okay, now I'm flipping like 6 cards in this face-off. Or I suppose for that matter,
That's it. Okay, E-Bugle was a playtester, not R&D.
Okay. Or I suppose for that matter, the Big Mac and Mod combo is still in the game, so that may be an issue.
Yeah, that would definitely be an issue. Okay, I win because I flipped infinite cards. Okay.
Yeah. Like I say, kind of guilty by association, but not really.
But it was mainly, as I said, it was mainly hyperbolic. But it's E-Bugle and his friends should probably be part of R&D because they just keep breaking the game. Like every time they kick down the door, and it's like, cool, we broke it. End of play. Tell me off now.
Right, I remember that. There's some. Oh, that was so long ago, but.
How are people choosing with Eagle?
I don't remember, but he doesn't work the way that everyone assumed he did. I remember hearing about that.
Go on, Bugle. Enlighten me. I'm pretty sure I've always played the card right because I basically did it at the start of someone's turn. I can move it because it's a phase. But yeah.
Yeah. So we assume that he's working on that. But yeah, like that was that was so long ago. I remember that. And like I said, I don't remember what the right.
No. I never did that. Honestly.
Right, I remember that. He goes home and then the face-off ends or something, and like
because it's part of face-off resolution, and Pumped triggers once the face-off is finished. Part of face-off resolution is before everything's finished. It will be at home, so it won't be there to pump.
Yeah. Okay. I remember that. Yeah.
Something like that. E-Bugle probably has a much more rulesy version of it, but I'm guessing that's my sort of in summary. Yeah. And honestly, I never did that. I always sent like my Winona and my Falcon home because then you can move Falcon and drag something else, and you're like, yeah,
that's fair.
And it's stuff like that where you just move the 1-for-1s and don't care. Often is what I did pretty much every time. So, well, I'm not a cheater.
I guess
for days.
But it certainly was a thing.
Although once it already had a bit underneath it, that's when I can send it home. Woo.
Yeah. Yeah, like as Bugle said, that's pretty much.
I didn't know that most people did that.
Oh, I mean, if you assume if you assume that that is legal, then it is a pretty good thing to do.
I mean, it's such a sort of niche little case of timing right at the end of a face-off that it's fair enough that people got it wrong, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I completely understand getting that wrong. I just never looked at it like that. I probably should have. Dang, I could have done so much better in so many games if I cheated like that. I shouldn't say that. That's terrible.
Well, I mean, that is kind of obvious when you say it that way. I could have done so much better if I had been cheating.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Huh. But yeah, Eagle is cool. But yeah, definitely a big nostalgic card for me, Vittle Stand. I just remember the sort of, look at how powerful that is. For no action tokens now, I can give this plus insert biggest friend at home here. Mm-hmm. And then you'd actually like run all these friends with Stubborn, so that you can like, I move it to a problem, and then I exhaust it, and Vittle Stand that, and then, ooh, look at all this power I have now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I miss those decks like that.
Well, I mean,
actually, you know what? When I do block 1, I'm gonna make Vittle Stand again. I've decided now. Block 1 Vittle Stand. Let's do it.
But you know, that kind of style is still around. With
just not with the stand itself though, which is the card. Like, it's a specific card I'm nostalgic about. It's just
okay.
Cool.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Like, I would build Muffin Mare and stuff like that, but I have friends that run it, so I'm like, you know what? They can have that deck rather than me.
Right. Fair enough. Trying to remember that combo deck. They all just blend together. Ugh. But yeah, for anyone who was watching last week, last couple weeks ago, yeah, and kind of assumed that we would finish up our main tier list. That was our intention, but then news happened.
And then like big news of a card ban, card ban, wow. So little distracted.
Yeah.
And then next fortnight, chances are we'll have too much con decks to talk about, like a lot of con decks.
Well, that's actually an announcement that I wanted to make. Actually, is that I think we're gonna push the next one off for 3 weeks. Actually, if that's okay. Just because
I can't do odd numbered weeks. Remember, the reason why it's the fortnightly is because I'm busy.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, wait. I'm not now, actually, because I work Sundays, so I wouldn't be at the thing that I would have been in the past. So I could do it, I guess, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, see, the only thing is that, that Sunday, Gen Con, Team Sealed is happening, right on the time that we would usually stream. So.
And you want to do it?
Well, yeah, I do. So, I kind of toyed with the idea, maybe we try it on Saturday or something like that. So, I mean, maybe if that works for you, but I don't. Does it?
Oh, I don't know. We'll talk about it, and you can update the Reddit.
Okay.
Because basically all of our viewer base is from Reddit, I would guess. I'm not expecting anyone to randomly have stumbled across this and be engaged by it.
Yeah, I think we're mostly there. So yeah, kind of be advised, viewers, that next week we might have, or at least for the next episode, we might have a kind of a special scheduling concern. But we will certainly have lots of con-related items to talk about.
Yes.
Which means that likely the whole main tier list thing is just going to be at some point in the future.
Yeah, but that's okay. We can finish it off some other time.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's not like it has to happen now. And I guess for all of the good of 2 tournaments, the Premier Twilight we put at garbage tier was like tier 1. Congrats.
Yep.
Bye again.
We were only wrong temporarily. It's not a concern.
Yeah. Oh dear. Poor card. Poor card.
But yeah, I think that about covers everything I wanted to
That covers it all up, I think.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, just a reminder to the folks in chat, of course, that if your friends couldn't be here, there's a YouTube channel where you can watch all of our
Ask them if they
archived
care.
stuff. Yeah. And I just want to put it out there because people's here in the chat as well that like if you wanted more information about Combo or about this particular deck that got banned, I believe there's a commentaries Magic stream tonight where they're going to be talking about all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. But
Yeah.
Besides that, until next time, I've been Cursed Course.
And I've been solving problems.
And we'll see you.
See ya.